Welcome to the Winwell Performance Wellbeing podcast. I'm Dawn Sanders, co-founder and director of Winwell, and I've been a performance wellbeing coach in elite sport for over 20 years. I'm keen to explore what it means to win well, and in this series of podcasts, we dive deep into the lives of the people who are trying to do just that, in high-pressure, high-performance environments, balancing the demands of success with self-care. I hope through these stories we can learn together on the ways we can win well. In this episode, I am thrilled to be joined by Toby Penty, Olympian coach and alopecia ambassador. Toby is someone who's been on an incredible journey of self-reflection and discovery throughout his time in elite sport. Toby shares his insights on how athletes must mature quickly when entering high-pressure environments, how he shifted from the individualism of a singles badminton player to giving, mentoring, listening and giving back, and the positive impact that had on his career. We also dive into his personal experience with alopecia, the loss of funding, and trying to qualify for an Olympic Games during COVID, and how facing these challenges has shaped him both as an athlete, coach, and a person, helping him grow in ways he never expected. And as we wrap up, Toby shares the powerful metaphor, "You are a mirror," that will leave you with plenty to think about. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Hi, Toby. Thank you so much for your time today, and really pleased to have you on this episode of the Performance Wellbeing podcasts. I'd really welcome my first question, sort of asking you to kind of describe who you are and describing you as your whole self, Toby, not just what you do for a living. Certainly in performance environments, we describe ourselves as a badminton player or an athlete. And not always our whole selves. And sometimes for some that can be a little challenging in terms of feeling success or failure related to that identity. So I'd welcome you just saying to our listeners who you are.
Yes, I'm Toby, 32 years old. I always get that wrong. 32, still feeling 25. I'm born and raised in Surrey. Lived in Walton-on-Thames in Surrey most of my life, apart from living in Milton Keynes for a little bit. So sport has always kind of been my life a little bit, but outside of that, it still is, because I'm a big Fulham fan, and most of my life outside of kind of work is just spent with my friends a little bit, just chilling out, enjoying good food, enjoying London and stuff like that, really. So happy-go-lucky sort of guy. Don't really try and dwell too much on the negatives of life, just try and enjoy other people's company and the people I'm around, and then kind of go from there, I guess.
Thank you, Toby, for sharing that, and obviously a Fulham fan as well as part of all of that in your life.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing. Was talking about performance lifestyle and stuff, was nice to have a different sport to kind of be take over my mind a little bit, so it wasn't just about badminton. So it started off as a small thing actually, but one of the main things is it's a reason to spend. I go with my dad, so it's been a new way for us to interact and be able to spend a lot more time together, which has been really nice over like the last 6 to 7 years actually. So
a distraction away from the performance environment you were in, and connect with your dad in a different way as well.
He always kind of wanted a life in sport, but he kind of picked, sports he got into when he was a lot older. So I know how proud he was of me kind of going down the route I was and did, but spent a lot of time away from home and stuff. And one of the joys of playing sport when I was younger was traveling the country with him and stuff, and him kind of sharing in that success that I had, but just being able to enjoy being on the road and enjoying each other's company, which I didn't get to do as much in my 20s, like early 20s anyway. So to have that now, to just go to the football, walk down the river, and just kind of actually just spend time just talking about life as well as just football is has actually made I think I made our connection a lot stronger actually, as father and son. So it's been really nice.
Nice to do. You talk about, your life in your 20s and now 32, Toby, and I remember you almost coming into the badminton environment a child and then leave it as an adult. What would you say that journey has been like for you?
I definitely felt like if I could describe myself as an animal, I would have said I was a bit like Bambi when I probably first walked into the centre, like quite bushy-tailed, wide eyes sort of thing. I wouldn't say naive was the word. Like I've always had a naivety to me where I've just wanted to try and do the best for myself and people around me. So going into like a national centre and stuff like that was quite a big eye opener, because I think when you go from a club environment where you're around your friends and people you've known since for me, since I was kind of 10, 12 years old, to then going into an environment like that felt a lot more serious and a lot more different. So it was challenging, but I think because of that, I really thrive, because I also am someone, I think I enjoy new challenges once I'm kind of pushed into them a little bit. And I think I was around a lot of older people than myself, older athletes, and it made me have to grow up a little bit faster, actually, which I think was a good thing for me. But yeah, kind of coming back to what I said about my dad and my family, I'm not from a family of great sports people and stuff. So a lot of learning along the way, I think, from where I was then to where I am now. Yeah.
And knowing, I guess, athletes do come into our environments and elite performance environments, at younger ages now, almost sport becomes your university of life to some extent. What were some of the life lessons you did learn along that way?
I think one of them was that, especially as a younger athlete, was learning how to kind of have a confidence in yourself and believe in yourself, but also trying to grow up quickly and build a level of maturity quite quickly. I think where maybe some people go to university or other stuff and have those years where they're still finding themselves, you have to try and do that quite quickly, it feels like at times when you're playing sport. So I think that was one of the things I kind of took from it, was that if this was the route I was going to go down, I really needed to treat it with the respect and seriousness it deserved. And then I actually think further on down in if I go further on, because it did feel like quite a long time overall in my 20s, I think being grateful for all the stuff I was given, no matter how successful I was, just being grateful for what I was given and not trying not to get too frustrated or complain about what I didn't have, but be grateful for what I did have, and then try and use that to the best of my abilities, and then trying to find my own solutions on how to figure stuff out with the good advice of people around me as well, were kind of the things that are coming to my mind right now.
And you've always integrated sort of well-being into that, Toby, to enable you to thrive, knowing the challenges of being a singles player and all that being on you, as well as that support team around you, of course. But what would you therefore say performance well-being meant to you, looking back at it now as a player?
As a player, I think always I'm trying to analyze how I say it in the best way, but I think it's tricky to put it in one sentence, I guess, sometimes, like when you ask it like that and stuff. But I think it was trying to find a balance between caring about success and but not letting it build up so much that I wasn't able to look after myself to the best of my abilities, or it affects my lifestyle so much that it just fully took over. And I always think for me that was a balance. Sometimes I found, sometimes I didn't. I had to really tread carefully there, and sometimes when I was almost too in it, it was hard for me to see that myself, and needing people to kind of help me and steer me a little bit in that way. Like I said about the respect and seriousness I kind of took to playing sport as a profession, I think sometimes it was almost too much, and just being able to try and take a step back. And I think once I did that, as I got a bit older, like it definitely gave me a greater perspective of life and other stuff away from playing badminton and stuff like that. So yeah, just trying to really just find a a happy balance of life on the court and life away from the court, I think.
Yeah, that balance between sort of being in it and fully immersed and wanting to do the thing you love, but
Yeah.
some time away from it potentially. What kind of things did you proactively do to enable that?
I think the biggest thing for me was like just having honest and open conversations with people about it and stuff. And it for a while I thought it was about just trying to fill my calendar with doing this activity or having a weekend out or doing a weekend here, when actually I think it was just something as simple as just sitting with my mates, having a coffee, or occasionally when I had the chance to go and have a beer and stuff, and just be able to just talk and just be a little bit more open and honest about how I was feeling in myself and stuff like that. And actually the same for them. Like I found for me, especially as I got a little bit older playing, I was actually playing the role of listener more than speaker. And sometimes I actually kind of preferred that. People, I was in a privileged position that a few people felt they could open up and speak to me and stuff and look up to me in that way. And actually that gave me a responsibility that I enjoyed away from myself. And actually using that to help my own journey and be able to decipher what was happening with me as well throughout those periods. So yeah.
I love that. It doesn't have to be an event or an activity or forcing perhaps well-being a little bit in a schedule that's already rammed with so many other things you need to do as a performance athlete. It's more like the simplicity of it, isn't it? The simplicity of being with your friends, being open, having good conversations over a coffee, but then hearing you talk about, listening to people, caring for others, taking more of a mental role, in enabling that, giving part of that well-being and self-care.
Yeah, and it was good for me because, like, yeah, you would understand this, Dawn, from being around badminton a little bit, as well as like as a singles player. Like, it is an individual sport. You have to find the balance between having the right people around you and a team around you, but ultimately, when you're on the court, it is just you. So there is that sort of selfish individual nature to it. So it was nice when I stepped away from that to be in these team environments, or to feel like I had a different role where, I could play that mentor role or try and look out for others. And yeah, I even players who are better than me, just doing what I could to help them as well would just take the pressure off me a little bit, take the pressure off myself, which was something I probably didn't think about in the time that I was doing, but like looking back on it in hindsight, I can see that a lot more now.
Yeah. And how did all those things then accumulate, Toby, for you, kind of the pinnacle of your career in terms of representing Team GB at an Olympic Games?
I think just a lot of around a lot of that stuff was just giving myself the sort of psychological mental approach, talking about all this stuff that we're talking about now, just gave me a much more like open-minded approach to stuff, but it made me a lot more resilient as well. Like I went, especially leading up to the Olympics and we had COVID and a few other things going on. Like, I had to, you had to, I say me, but everyone who was at that Olympics, especially in Tokyo, you had to deal with those things and try and make the best of it. But even before that, I felt like I was dealing with a lot of different things. I never had it the easiest, I don't think. So was just learning to be resilient, but actually learn all those things I went through, trying to use them, trying to gain knowledge and experience from them to be able to thrive on the big stage. Ultimately, whenever I played at the big tournaments, probably the two biggest I played was at the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. I think that's why I performed at my best at those events, because all those experiences in the past shaped me, that I was in the best, not just physical, but mental and emotional mindset to deal with them, really. So yeah, it worked out for the best.
You say a few challenges, Toby, like there's some minor things you had to
Yeah.
overcome. Are you happy to sort of give a bit more detail and share what those challenges were on that pathway?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was kind of blessed. Looking back on it, or I had a pretty smooth journey up to probably the age of like 2021. Like I wasn't the best junior badminton player, but my rise towards kind of the best in England junior, one of the best in Europe, um, in the junior ages, like under 17, under 19, happened quite quickly. So at that point, I thought I was going to take over the world almost a little bit. And then I started suffering from a few injuries and probably even like a little bit of homesickness. Probably looking back on it now, like even though I was only an hour away from where I grew up and stuff in Milton Keynes, like it was very different. And there were parts I loved and parts I found quite difficult. And then I guess the big ones were we had the main funding cut after the Rio Games, where I lost my funding and stuff and had to move back home and try and find a solution. And then I suffered with alopecia after that in the back end of 2019 through 2020. So I lost all my hair in that period, head to toe, going into COVID before the Olympics. So there was a lot of things to deal with, and that took a lot of time to kind of get my head round and stuff. So it was challenging, but knowing I was going to kind of talk to you today, like the last few days, I've been kind of thinking about it and blessed. More the alopecia, but the mindset it's given me now and my approach and stuff has changed. I've changed immensely as a person, and it's probably helped me a lot. Such a different person than I imagine I would have been if I hadn't have gone through that. So no, it's been a bit of a mad roller coaster, but it's been an insightful one.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, Toby, and being open and honest about that journey. Sometimes we see the pinnacle at the end and not the bits that go along that way. And you've certainly been resilient, as you say, through a number of challenges. And that word, I guess, resilient and that interplay with well-being is quite often used, isn't it? But what would you say were the strengths that have got you through those challenges?
Just that ability not to like. I'd say the alopecia was different. I mean, I got really down during that period, but the rest, like, just putting my head down and just working hard in those moments. Like, I know when we talk about resilience, I think the word that always goes with that is like toughness and stuff like that. But I always joke like, I remember speaking to a psychologist and then being like, how do I want to be seen? And I was like, I want to be seen as like a lion and stuff like this. Like, and she just like laughed at me over Zoom and was like, yeah, you're not a lion. Like, you don't, there's different forms of it, you know? Like, it was like a soft resilience, I would say. It wasn't like a really aggressive, firm, like people talk about mental toughness and stuff like this. It was a little bit different. Just trying to figure out solutions mentally, and then but at the same time try and keep putting in the hard work around it. And even when I felt down, just keep cracking on and keep trying my best. And the just keep believing that it would be worth it in the end. That one and when it stopped feeling like that was the time to then be like, I'll do something else now. If it ever got to that point. So yeah, I don't know how to describe it without going into quite a lot of detail about it, but yeah, that's how I'd see it.
Yeah, well, cracking on with it, getting on with it,
Yeah.
but you've also sought support with that as well, Toby, haven't you? You kind of reached out to see who can help you kind of understand this and navigate your way through this, through the guides and support of other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I learned going to the National Centre and all these people, like before I was like 17, 18, like even things like really like day-to-day physio, people doing massage, being able to speak like to people like yourself, strength and conditioning, this was like totally alien to me. Like I was like, what are all these people doing here? I'm just used to like having a coach, being told what to do and a badminton court and just do it. So like I said, because I had so little of that, I felt growing up, like I just felt so lucky I had all that stuff, to be honest. It wasn't stuff I was used to. And then I think like later on was just trying to use the people I had there. But when I say use them, like I wanted to get to know them. I wanted people to actually invest and care about what I was doing. Like I didn't want it just to feel like it was their job. Like obviously they're you know, people are paid to come to places and work and do their stuff, but I always hoped that I was able to build relationships that hopefully would go a little bit beyond that, and that I would get something more out of it, and hopefully they would feel the same working with me. And then along the line, I think on top of that was then trying to, without having the qualifications that all you guys had doing these jobs, was trying to just build my own experience and any little tips and tricks I could do to kind of self-care, I guess, both physically and mentally. And I think that really helped me when I lost my funding and stuff, just to be able to build a team of people around me who I could really trust and looked out for me. And yeah, like I had 3 or 4 people, Stuart, my coach, Julia Sawkins, my physio, Ed Parker, who was doing my S&C, and then I started working with Sarah Cecil, who was doing my psychology stuff. That was really the 4 main people who I would kind of, sometimes they would talk amongst each other, sometimes it was just totally separate, but it just felt like my own little team, and that was really good for me actually, and really helped me towards the latter end of my career.
Yeah, I like that you sort of investing in your team as well, Toby. You know, you've always asked your team around you, how are they, and about their lives as well, making it more of a two-way relationship as opposed to sort of like a service provision.
Yeah, I think that's important, because like we're all just people, right? We're all just the same. Like we're all just hopefully just trying to do our best and stuff. And you know, like I always said when I first went to the centre, I never felt like I deserved these things or should be given them. Like it's no given right just because I'm good at the sport. So I'm just grateful for that stuff I was given in the first place. So, but it was important for me to feel like I knew the people I was working with a little bit, build up that relationship and stuff. So yeah, made going into training every day a bit more enjoyable as well, I think.
Yeah. And then the point, Toby, where you transitioned away from the sport, you know, what kind of things led to that decision being apparent to you?
I think mostly my body was just struggling day to day, like playing singles. Like it was just too hard on my body towards the end. Like I'd always had some problems with my knee, but my knee started flaring up again during COVID, and then my Achilles and my feet started. I started having struggles with them, and I just couldn't properly get rid of it. And I still loved playing, but it was just becoming harder and harder to get myself on court every day and not feel like. It felt almost like rolling a dice, like playing roulette and like hoping like I'd hit a lucky day where everything felt okay. Sometimes I'd wake up, like I'd go to bed and wake up 2nd or 3rd day of the tournament. I just didn't know how I was going to feel. And I think I became almost too connected to my body, where as soon as I felt something, I was like, nah, I can't do it today. And yeah, all the extra work I was doing, and it was just becoming extremely difficult. And I just had one day where I remember I got about half an hour into training, and I just felt my knee, or so I just couldn't move properly, and I wasn't doing very well in the session. And I just had this thought where I was like, I don't have to do this. Like sometimes I think people can be like, I have to play because I'm good. I'm at a certain level, so I have to play. I was like, I don't have to play anymore. Like it was kind of a little bit of an epiphany, really, where I was just like, yeah, I can. There's no one telling me I have to play. If I don't want to play anymore, I don't have to play. So I played for another 9 months after that, because I had the feeling of I wanted to get to the Commonwealth Games. I wanted to play a little bit more and have one more sort of block like I did for the Olympics, push to something big, and try and end on near to my best or my best level. I didn't want to stop and feel like I was getting worse. So yeah, and I think I did that. And then I was always interested in the coaching stuff. Like I was doing a bit at the end of my career to kind of help fund my career, and and I just enjoyed talking to people about their game and asking about how they were getting on and stuff. And whenever I watched the session, when I'd finished mine, just try and give a little bit of advice. So I kind of knew it was a natural path for me. So I had a great setup already at Wimbledon where I've spent a lot of time training and stuff. So it was the natural progression for me. I felt comfortable doing it, especially whilst I'm a bit younger and still have the energy. I'd never say I'm going to do it forever. I wouldn't want to lie about that, but actually I enjoy what I'm doing right now, and I feel comfortable in that environment. I feel from a high performance level and stuff like that, and also from a performance side, both on and off the court, I feel like I have a lot of more experiences than most. We all have different experiences, but I feel like I have a lot of different ones. So there isn't too much that can surprise me. You always get surprised a little bit, but there's not too much I'm shocked by. I feel like I can't deal with or give a good perspective of what's going on. So yeah.
And I know, Toby, like the work doing together, exploring your strengths, exploring your values, where else in the world would they fit? Knowing that the next environment you wanted to thrive in, what would you say were the values that you explored as a player you knew would sort of meet your needs as a coach?
I think the biggest thing is being an environment where I just enjoyed coming into work every day. Whether that would be working from home or whether that would be on the court or whatever. Like, I'm kind of in a mixed position now where even though I'm sort of self-employed, I work mostly out of Wimbledon with a couple of groups of coaches who are also close friends, and a group of players who I've worked with now for a while. And I just enjoy that team element of it, and just being around a strong group of people who get on. And I think sometimes that can be really, yes, you can have all the success you want, but if you're not enjoying the success with the others around you, and like it doesn't have meaning, then that's not enough for me. Like I'd even rather sometimes come up a bit short, but we do it together and we've all had a good time doing it and enjoy it, than making something work, but at sort of a risk of everyone looking back and going, actually, that wasn't really that enjoyable at all. So that's out of everything, that's the main thing. Like I want to get up every morning and enjoy the people I'm spending time with, I guess.
You speak about a sense of team, about, my word really, I guess, about belonging and feeling like you're there with good people and enjoying being in the environment, but with a purpose, it sounds like, and a meaning, and being there for a reason.
Yeah, and I think also just trying to have small, especially because I'm working with a lot more junior players as well, but like ultimately, like even if they play badminton to the level and the age I did, there's a long life after badminton, long life after sport, and just more important is what sort of person you're going to be, not what sort of athlete you're going to be. That's a small part. That's a big part, depending on how far you go, of the person you're going to be. And I guess like what you're asking me now is like being able to ask them, like, what values do you want to have? Like, what do you want to be important to you? What do you want to be remembered for? Like both playing sport or just as a person to your friends and family, and also people who are looking into you, because you never know who looks up to you as a role model. I always say to a lot of the players I work with, like, for every player you wish you were as good as, like whether in your age group or older, like there are like thousands of kids who wish they had the level of ability you had. So never forget that. Like use that to kind of strive for more, but know that you can inspire a lot of people at any level or any age, really. So yeah.
Knowing then, Toby, that performance wellbeing has a core element of sort of enabling the development of the person behind the performer. As a coach, how do you enable that to happen?
I think it's just little and often. I think sometimes it can be, you see it a lot where you have really long, big chats with people and stuff, and sometimes we can kind of just overanalyze and overtalk about these things. But I think when it comes to people you're working with day in, day out, just small conversations, small messages all the time, because you never know what's going to stick with someone, and some things are going to ring true more. Some things you say are going to ring true more with that person than other things you say. So just having a consistency to it, and also consistency with the way I coach and the way I am around them, for them to see that it's not just, it's not a one-off. That what they're seeing from me actually is they're seeing as much as they're just seeing the coach, they are seeing a little bit of the person as well. I have a private and personal life, right? But there's still it's not like it's totally two different people. You're still getting that version of me as well, the full version. So yeah, but like just trying to be there day in, day out, in just little ways, not always massively, which is, people talk about in 30, 40 years, but just small details, I think.
And knowing the demands of you as a coach, Toby, you've got other people now in your care that you're responsible for. That life of a coach means sort of weekends, evenings, long
Yeah.
days, just traveling away with the squads potentially. How do you manage your well-being as a coach now?
I try. It takes a lot of planning, I think, in terms of, like I said, not trying to plan in events and other stuff I want to do, but just trying to plan my time where I do make sure I have some days off, some time away, just to kind of re-energize a little bit as well, because I've definitely felt times where I haven't done it very well, and just even my mood or my the way I am on court and stuff, I can feel it's affected, and I'm just kind of in a bit of a spiral. So, but actually, to be honest, just some of similar things to when I was athlete, focusing on my sleep, still trying to eat well, still trying to like work out a little bit, just trying to do like the basic stuff really well, I think, because it keeps my mind at ease and stuff. Try and spend time with friends, try and still look out for people who I'm not just coaching, I think is also another big one for me, is like try and be there for the people who I'm not with day in, day out coaching, but the people that I've been close with and been mates with for a long time, just still trying to reach out and have good relationships with those people, whether it's from a in-person relationship or if they're a bit further away over phone or over text, really. So it's just the little things, I think, trying to stay on top of those.
Yeah. And you've seen obviously a few environments now, Toby, that have enabled you to thrive, and some of the challenges you've faced in life along the way. You talk a lot about kind of being a part of a team and being with the right people. But other than that, what would you say are the kind of the key ingredients that make a really thriving performance well-being culture that everyone can kind of have success and self-care as a part of their life?
I think on the first bit, I think no matter your standard or whatever, make sure you're giving to everyone else what you're giving to yourself as well. I think for me, that's a bit of I would say a little bit of a non-negotiable. I think sometimes it shouldn't be about standard and stuff like that. It's just if you want to get a lot, give a lot. That's one of the main things I really think about on that. And then on top of that, I think is just realizing everyone's approach is a little bit different as well. I think everyone is different, but trying to have good conversations with yourself. I think as much as I talk about being around friends and team and stuff, I'm also someone who's quite comfortable in their own company nowadays. And I think being able to have good conversations with yourself, being able to catch your own thoughts, realize where you're at, when you're in a better frame of mind and stuff, easier than when you're tired or struggling or working a lot and stuff, but is trying to have good conversations with yourself and have some time for yourself, and being comfortable with that as well. I think some prefer that more than others, but yeah, that's more so the last few years as I've got a bit older, is just being able to be comfortable in my own company a lot more and in my own skin.
A bit more comfortable in your own company, give yourself some good questions to answer a little bit, it sounds like, from what you're saying, in terms of giving yourself that time and space for thought and reflection and kindness to yourself a little bit.
Yeah, and it's probably the main thing I learned from going through my alopecia and stuff, is like it took a long time for me to feel comfortable in my own skin again and stuff. Now I feel better than I did before, because I have a belief and confidence in myself that I probably didn't have before that happened, but a bit deeper sense of confidence and well-being and belonging, I think, which I don't think I really had before. I think I had it on a surface level, but not on a deeper level that I really understood. And yeah, just being a bit more connected to my own emotions and thoughts and feelings, I think. And I think that's really important. And you have to, whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, you have to go through some stuff and work it out to get to that place, I think. And I'm sure with years to come, I've still got a few more things to learn on that side as well, with different experiences I have and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
And I'm sure everyone would love to dig into that element of self-belief and self-confidence, Toby. Just if you were to give some top tips to the listeners about how to get themselves there, what would you say?
I think that it's a one that these sort of things are a process, and it takes time. And when it comes to kind of performance, whether that be in sport or away from sport, it's like we always focus on, as a sportsman, for example, I focus on it being on court or in the gym and stuff, or someone who's in a scientific field or an artistic field, whether it's drawings or mechanical or whatever that thing is. But it's then what is the mental approach towards it, and trying to have conversations with yourself to practice that and speak. I think part of that is having those own conversations with yourself and being open enough and vulnerable enough to speak to other people about it and get their thoughts, so that you get a bit more of a well-rounded sense of everything, I think. So that, as well as I guess some of the main things I learned is try and, even if you're not feeling confident in yourself, try and, when you look in the mirror especially, try and when people look at you, I think one of the best pieces of advice is you are a mirror. People are gonna see from you what you show them. So if you want people to feel comfortable in your company, you've got to show that you're comfortable in theirs. And these little things go a long way, and can create a bit more of a more comfortable relationships quicker and stuff like that. So yeah, those would be the two main things, I think.
I love that, that process that you talk about, whatever you're performing in, and kind of believing in that, and it might take a little time to get there, but that kind of that mirror analogy you talk about, you've got to be, what you're showing is something that you're going to be giving back a little bit, in terms of, if you want a relationship, how are you going to put yourself out there to encourage that to happen to someone else?
Yeah, and I think the biggest things with stuff like this is sometimes it only takes time and having hindsight to look back on it to realize you've done it. It's very hard to realize these things in the moment. And that's why you like being able to have time for yourself and other things is really important, because then you can look back on it and actually see how far you've come, and not necessarily how far you've got to go. You can still get there. You can still be in the process of doing that, but yeah, I think sometimes it's okay to look back, as long as you're looking at it retrospectively from a point of where you are now, to be like, actually, I've come a long way. And hopefully that's not just about like I said, whatever that is, the painting you're drawing, the sport you're trying to be amazing at, the car you're trying to build, like all the other stuff that goes with it, you know, along the way, as a person and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Not just the end outcome of what you've created, but who you are and what you've learned about yourself along that pathway too.
Yeah. That's how I look at it. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight, your honesty, your reflections, Toby. It's amazing to see, your journey perhaps from a young 17-year-old coming into the
Oh,
National Badminton Centre to where you are now, and the reflections you've given yourself and the kindness you've given yourself to fully connect with that, not only kind of through that journey, through your transition and now as a coach, but to serve you well for the rest of your life.
no, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And
Mm.
you certainly played a part as well. So thank you for all the help along the way.
Oh, thank you for your gratitude. It means a lot to me, Toby. But thank you so much for your time and your insight today. And hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, take care, Dawn. Thank you very much.